This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report, 7 billion and counting. Do we have enough room at the table? And look up in the sky, is it a bird, is it a plane? Thank goodness, it's clouds. And beware of the counterfeit maple syrup. All this and much more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Hi, and welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. You probably heard that the UN announced this week that somewhere in the world the 7th billionth person just joined our exclusive club. I'm sure he or she is as cute as a button, looks just like Uncle Leo, and will be driving their family nuts in about 15 years. But this announcement made many of us think about that huge number of consumers of all of Earth's resources. How are we going to handle that many people with many, many more on the way? And since we sit on just about the perfect piece of ground to grow stuff on, what does that mean for us? I talked to two Eastern Illinois University professors about how we handle over 7 billion to serve. Well, with me today is Mike Cornebise. He's the chairman of the Geography Department at Eastern Illinois University, and Chris Langen, who is an agricultural geographer. You study mostly corn and soybean and how we grow and move those around. So I heard something in the news today about 7 billion people in this world now. Mike, is that a big deal?
Well, you are correct. We have reached 7 billion people on the planet. But let me give you a little perspective on that, because literally 80 years ago, 1930, we reached about 2 billion at that time. So we've seen astronomical growth. 5 billion people have been added to the planet in what is the average lifespan of an adult here in the United States.
I was born in 1954. Don't look a day over 28. But how many people were there in the mid-50s?
Actually, fewer than 3 billion when you were born.
So in the course of a few years, we've gone more than doubled the population. Is that going to continue on ad infinitum?
At least for the short term it will, and the reason for that is the world population is very, very young. I like to call it, we have a lot of momentum built into the population. A lot of these folks will be reaching their reproductive years, and even though they may not be reproducing at the same rate as their parents or grandparents, there's still more of them to actually reproduce. And so for the next, say, generation or so, we will see continued growth.
This is an agricultural question, but are we as a world doing anything to slow that down?
Well, it's at some level, yes. We have many countries. China is a good example of this. They implemented back in the late 1970s a so-called one couple, one child policy. And even though they're backing off on that somewhat, it has led to some vast issues in that country. Yes, it slowed population growth down, but it led to very skewed male-female ratio.
And also with a growing economy now, there's an incentive for growing economies to have cheap labor. Lots of people mean cheap labor.
That's correct.
Is there a tug and pull in that regard?
In relationship to China, do you mean?
Or just China, any of the newer growing economies?
Well, yes. I mean, one of the things that we have depended on in our past is that reliable source of cheap labor coming mainly from Latin America. Even Mexico, while in the short term they will continue to grow, they will reach that plateau eventually. And so I think down the road, labor will be an issue, even here in the U.S.
Well, the heck with them. Let's talk about us. Chris, we got 7 billion people. It sounds like we're going to have a few more coming to the dinner table here in a little bit. How is the American farmer responding to these sorts of needs for more?
Well, over the last century or more, there's been fewer farmers in our country. Just about the same amount of total farm land throughout that period as well, a little bit less than there was in the early 1900s, but exponentially more things being produced. Yield increases have really been what has driven American agriculture throughout the past half century or so.
So what was the average bushel per acre back in the 70s or 80s?
Oh, Boy,
Guess.
I'd guess somewhere down just a little less than 100.
And what are we at now? I mean,
Right now, U.S. average is right around 160 bushels an acre for corn.
okay, that's pretty good.
That's very good.
Now, what are we seeing for future productivity growth? What can we expect down the road?
Seed companies, crop geneticists, and those types of folks, they're going to tell you, and partly because it's their business to tell you this, that over the next 20 to 25 years, you will see a doubling of that 160 bushels per acre.
So 320 bushel an acre corn?
On average, which means that here in Illinois, it'll be even a little bit more.
So, where are we going to put that?
Well, I think our uses for that will continue to become more diversified into things such as biofuels. Export markets will continue to grow as some of the more lesser developed countries become more developed and start depending upon our exporting of our grains for those purposes.
Okay, so we're going to grow more. How are we going to get what we grow to the people who need them?
Well, distribution is a problem right now and will be a problem in the future. And one of the main reasons for that is we really rely on relatively cheap fuel costs that will continue to rise. And once that's going to have an impact on our ability to cheaply move our food to the places where it needs to go.
Well, what other challenges? I mean, okay, cheap energy, what else?
Water is another major issue,
okay.
particularly out in the West. As you know, California, one of our most productive, by value, in fact, our most productive agricultural state. 90% of the water consumed in California is in the form of irrigation. Most of that water, though, is very, very cheap or even free to the farmers. Can that continue into the future? I don't think so.
So can we continue to divert the Colorado River to the agricultural fields in California as opposed to other sources? I mean, industries, we're all fighting for the same resources, aren't we?
That's correct. And this is a growing area in terms of people moving in. The water's being diverted into 3 major projects right now. The Colorado River, some of it to the Phoenix Basin, some of it to the Las Vegas area, and then some to Southern California.
Okay, well, let's assume, let's cross our fingers and assume we can grow it and we can get it out of here. What are some of the other challenges to feeding an expanding world population?
Well, one of the major challenges that we see in our country and also in the developing world is what we call urban deserts and rural deserts.
What are those?
Those are situations where you see a lack of fresh fruits and vegetables available to the populations because they may not have a grocery store that has those products. Fast food joints have really filled the void for many folks, and that leads to poor diets, and it also is a distributional issue.
So you're saying that we're really good at getting food to places on the outside. We're not always good getting good food to the places that really need it on the inside or way outside.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. What are some of the Americans' attitudes for supporting these sorts of, we're going to be growing it, my wife is mad when peanut butter prices go up. What are we going to do when we're growing it and our commodity prices go up?
I mean, I think we are lucky in that in our country we do have some of the lowest food prices in the world per capita. So in that regard, I don't think that we've really been influenced a whole lot by rising food prices compared to other countries. So,
but given the laws of supplies and demand, when China starts saying we really want all of your soybeans, what are we, that's going to cause prices go up here, isn't it? And that's not going to be necessarily popular, is it?
Well, and that's a really good point, because what's going on, 2 of the fastest growing economies in the world are the 2 biggest countries, China and India. And so as their economies grow, their diets tend to diversify. In other words, the people want more meat, to eat, and in order to feed the animals, in fact, China has to import grain to do that. Much of it comes from the United States.
Well, this is obviously a topic that's bigger than we can handle in a few minutes, and something that we'll be facing for a long time to come. I want to thank Mike Cornebise, the chairman of the Geography Department, and Chris Langen, an agricultural geographer, and I'm sure we'll be dealing with this again.
Okay, thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Monica Becker. If you thought you were done getting some relief from the summer's heat, not quite yet. The USDA declared 44 Illinois counties natural disaster areas, including counties in our area. Farmers and ranchers from Champaign, Christian, Effingham, Clark, Iroquois, Vermilion, Jasper, Crawford, Piatt, and Cumberland counties can now qualify for low-interest emergency loans to help cover part of their actual losses. Farmers in eligible counties have 8 months from October 31st to apply. And the USDA kicked off its own birthday party in Springfield on Wednesday. 150 years ago, Abraham Lincoln signed the bill establishing the agency, and U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack was in town promoting the event. However, during a press conference, Vilsack revealed that a federal tax break for ethanol blenders, estimated to be worth $5.7 billion, will likely be allowed to expire at the end of 2011. The tax break was for refiners who blend ethanol with gasoline and was included in a federal job creation bill back in 2004. The repeal of the tax break will not affect the renewable fuel mandates for ethanol that require biofuel production of 14 billion gallons a year, escalating to a total of 36 billion by 2022. Also in Springfield this week, the state budget crisis came home to roost. The Illinois Department of Agriculture announced that it was laying off 24 workers, ranging from security guards to food safety analysts. Particularly hard hit was the seed testing laboratory, where 4 positions were eliminated. The cuts represent about 5% of the agency's workforce. It's hard enough for producers to keep up with the ups and downs of the market, but over time, there have been a few trends that almost always hold true. One being that this close to the harvest, the trade price in Chicago is usually higher than the local cash price. Not this year. Today, the difference between the price of corn in Chicago and the price farmers can find at the local elevator, at least at most spots around the Midwest, is historically tight. Todd Gleason has more on what that might mean to farmers.
Farmers around the Midwest are wrapping up corn harvest. Usually when the corn crop is coming in, the price difference between Chicago and the spot bid, that's the local cash price, well, it widens out. That difference is called the basis, and it gets wider during the harvest because there's, well, simply a lot of corn available immediately. This season is an odd one in that respect.
We're now seeing here in south central Illinois, that marketing region, on average, cash price is about equal to December futures now. So a zero basis is extremely unusual for us, and for this time of year would be record strong.
Now, usually the cash price in south central Illinois is at least 20 cents under the trade in Chicago. There have been other years like this one, when the corn crop was not so great, but none where the harvest time cash bid was equal to or greater than the futures market. Usually, when basis is tight at harvest, it means farmers should just sell their crop right out of the field.
The spot price is still high. We're looking here locally somewhere $6.50 or a little higher on a spot bid. That's down $1 or more from the highs we saw late August, but still a pretty high price. And I think that's what farmers respond to mostly. I mean, they recognize we've got a strong basis, but I think they market basically based on flat price.
All the places field corn goes to be used are in pretty good financial condition, but the markets can be about that nagging feeling. The one, this time around, that says, I'm not so certain about the financial condition of Europe, or even of China.
One of the reasons that the futures market may be a little more timid here is this ongoing concern about world financial and economic conditions, and wondering if there's not a problem brewing in terms of demand for commodities.
So we'll call it friendly but cautious, the corn market. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
Now, why would a certain green and yellow farm implement company attempt to stack its way into the record books? Because they can, and to help feed some hungry people. John Deere is attempting to build a full-size sculpture of one of its combines using cans of food. The Can Do project is designed to raise awareness of the essential role farmers and ranchers will play in producing food for a growing world population. It is going to take an estimated 300,000 cans of food to build the combine, which will be on display in mid-November through mid-December in Moline. After that, the canned food will be donated to a local food bank, which should combine for a nicer holiday season. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. I'm Monica Becker.
With us today is Dave Shiley, the County Extension Educator, and you're here to talk about the basic series of for small farms and commercial production.
Right.
What is that?
Well, in an effort to provide information for a growing client group, which is our local farmers, locally produced vegetables and fruits, we're offering a webinar series that will kind of focus on the production of some individual crops that if a producer is interested in growing pumpkins and gourds as an example, and want to know how the growth requirements are, they could attend that particular session.
So you said there's multiple sessions. There's 4 of them, right? What are the sessions you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, there are 4 sessions. We're going to one will be the pumpkins and gourd production. One will be on berry production, commercial berry production. So we're going to talk about blueberry, strawberries.
Berries in Illinois, eh?
Yes,
okay.
And blueberries, strawberries, and then the 3rd session is on high tunnels. And the use of
I know this because you told me last time.
That's right.
But what are high tunnels?
Yeah, so a high tunnel isn't something you're going to drive through, but it is something that it's kind of like the old traditional hoop house, a plastic greenhouse without some kind of auxiliary heat source other than solar. So it's used to extend the season, to try to get more fruits and vegetables into Illinois sooner, just in a way to extend the growing season.
Now the last one is vegetable production.
That's right.
Okay, now I've seen a lot of small vegetable patches, but this is more for somebody who's thinking about really making the next step, isn't it?
Well, kind of. If you think about these fruit and vegetable producers, they did a survey in 2010, familyfarm.org, along with the Illinois Department of Ag, and so I think the average farm was around 36 acres. So
wow.
You can grow a lot of food on an acre of land in terms of vegetables. So it can be someone that a lot of small farm producers may start with 5 acres and then continue to expand that as they add additional crops.
Okay, so that sounds like an interesting series. Who do you think the audience will be?
Yeah, so we're hoping that this will provide an opportunity for an existing commercial vegetable producer or fruit producer to look at opportunities to expand. It might be a traditional row crop producer, corn and soybeans, that, I want to diversify my operation, and how do I, what am I getting into with growing pumpkins and gourds? Sounds pretty easy, but, what am I...
You don't know what you don't know.
That's right. So it'd be an opportunity for them to attend. It might be someone that's not even a producer right now, but they're thinking about getting into this whole new growing industry, and so it'd be an opportunity for them to learn and be aware of what they're getting into.
So how do I register, and what are the dates?
Yeah, we start on November 28th, and then every following Monday from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. It's going to be out at Lakeland College at the West Classroom Building in room 136.
Okay.
And if people are interested in registering, it's very simple. They can get on to our University of Illinois Extension website, the Coles, Cumberland, Douglas, Moultrie, Shelby
I'm glad you said
website, and it's right on the top on the right. It'll say online registration, and you don't have to attend.
I was going to say, you're busy.
Yes.
That's 4 Mondays. If you can't attend, can you still get that information?
Yes, if you can't attend at all, then we are going to have those archived on our website.
Excellent.
And you don't have to attend all 4. You can pick 1 or 2. It's not a series where it's going to build on one week after another. But
well, thank you so much. This sounds like an interesting class. It sounds like if you're thinking about it, think about attending. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
We curse at them. We watch the size and shape and direction of them. Some mornings, we even have to drive through them. And on a lazy summer day, we've been known to lay on the grass, stare up into the sky, and see cute little bunnies with chainsaws. Was that only me? We owe so much to something so ethereal as clouds. That's the subject of this week's Under the Four Rivers Sky.
When we were children and our elementary school teacher asked us to draw a house and our family, many of us included a cloud or two. Did you know that cloud you drew was a cumulus cloud? Later in life, we found ourselves looking at the clouds and seeing animals or faces or any other object that the cloud looked like. Our imagination soared. In the old days, clouds were more than images in the sky. Before there were published forecasts, farmers had to rely on cloud formation for the forecast. Tonight, I present the 9 basic cloud types that were derived from an amateur meteorologist, Luke Howard, who established the cloud nomenclature in the early 1800s and are still used today for short-term forecasts.
Old weather proverbs such as "ring around the moon, rain real soon," or "red sky at night, sailors delight," "red sky in the morning, sailors take warning," were all used to describe the short-term forecast. These sayings were based on the appearance of clouds or the condition of the sky. Many of these proverbs, used by farmers in the very old days, were excellent forecasts and are still used today. In 1804, Luke Howard, an amateur meteorologist from England, developed a classification scheme based on the appearance of the cloud formation. There are essentially 3 basic cloud forms: stratiform, cumuliform, and cirrus. These forms are defined from the Latin terms that describes their appearance in the sky. For example, stratus in Latin is translated as layered. Clouds that exhibit a layering effect will contain the root stratus. Cumuliform describes the cloud's appearance as being stacked. Finally, cirrus clouds are defined as hair-like. Each cloud type is categorized according to the basic form, very low to high altitude. Learning the different cloud types is relatively easy if you notice the patterns, size, and height. It is important to remember that these are basic cloud types, and it is possible that nature can provide several different cloud combinations within a single day or even hour. Stratus clouds exhibit a layered appearance due to the gradual incline of relatively weak winds associated with an oncoming warm front. As the wind blows, cloud droplets are spread across the sky, giving a layered appearance. Stratus clouds are typical of the stratiform definition, layered at the low altitude. It is the cloud that provides for a gloomy day. Altostratus clouds are found within the middle altitude. When the sun shines behind this cloud, the cloud appears milky and fibrous. Cirrostratus clouds are found in the higher altitudes. A halo around the sun or moon can be used to identify this cloud. This cloud is mostly made of ice crystals and gives the appearance of a very thin film with the disk of the sun or moon extremely distinct. Cumulus clouds are just as they are defined, large, white, puffy clouds. These clouds are typical of a fair weather day. Altocumulus clouds are smaller than cumulus and often positioned in rows. These clouds can often display a mackerel sky. Cirrocumulus clouds are the smallest of this class of cloud and arrange themselves in rows in higher altitudes. Cirrus clouds, defined as hair-like, are clouds that exhibit a streakiness, as if they were pulled apart like cotton candy. There is only one cloud associated with this form, which is only found in the higher altitudes. Nimbostratus clouds are clouds that look like the stratus cloud, but produce precipitation. This cloud is found in the very low altitudes. The only cloud that extends from the low altitude to the high altitude is considered the king of all clouds, the cumulonimbus. This cloud often exhibits an anvil top and produces thunderstorms. Meteorologists and weather enthusiasts use cloud classification to understand how the immediate atmospheric environment is evolving and can determine a general forecast. For example, stratiform clouds are commonly associated with an oncoming warm front. If you see cirrostratus clouds and then altostratus and stratus move in, you can generally expect warmer temperatures and a chance of rain showers in the next few hours. When the region experiences thunderstorms ahead of a cold front, you can generally expect cooler temperatures and clear skies with a few cirrus clouds the next day.
The next time you need the forecast, look up at the sky and read what the clouds are telling you. In most cases, you will be correct. For more about these clouds and forecasting techniques, visit our website at castle.eiu.edu/weather. That's it for me this week. Protect our home and always say thank you to our farmers.
Well, even that famous Vermonter Calvin Coolidge would not have stayed silent in the face of this travesty. A couple in Vermont found themselves in a sticky situation when a bottle of real maple syrup that they purchased from an out-of-state trucker turned out to be just cane sugar. The couple became suspicious because the bottle was too light in color to be grade B syrup that was on the label. They said it was sweet, but it had no maple flavor. Faux maple syrup? Not in the Green Mountain State or any of the other 47 contiguous states that it touches, not to mention Alaska and Hawaii. The 2 U.S. senators from Vermont co-sponsored a bill that would have made it a felony, repeat, a felony to sell fake maple syrup as the real thing. We're talking 5 years of hard candy time. So beware, you charlatans who would prey on those of us with a stack of unsweetened breakfast food. We can put up with a lot, just don't mess with our hotcakes. Well, congratulations, you made it through another episode. Just a reminder, we've been on the air half as long as Kim Kardashian was married, so we have something to shoot for. That's it for this week. Work hard, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.